Hi, we're gonna make one of my favorites from Crazy Busy Keto. This is such a simple meal. And in fact, I'm gonna make it even a little more complicated than it has to be, so you'll see how super easy it is. What we love about this is that it's great if you're just feeding one person. It's great for winter, especially nice if you have like the cold or flu bug and you're not really sure what to put on your tummy. You start with 2 cups of chicken broth, and actually I'm using chicken broth. You could use beef bone broth. We've used that before, but start with 2 cups of broth and just let it simmer. I've been letting this simmer for a little bit. I turned the heat off right before we started the video, but let it simmer for a bit, and you want it to come to a rolling boil. And once it comes to a nice boil, it has to be really hot. You're going to take an egg and you're going to pour it in just a bit at a time. Now this is just 1 egg. You can use 2 if you want, and certainly if you're making for more than 1 person, you could use a bigger pot. You could use 4 cups of bone broth. The reason I simmer the bone broth down just a bit is to make it a little more flavorful, a little more concentrated. You don't have to simmer it down at all if you don't have time or don't want to. But anyway, you're going to whisk up the egg and you're going to pour it in. You want this hot so that when the egg hits the broth, it immediately begins to cook. And you'll see what I mean when I do it. Also, I haven't put anything in here. Generally, depending on your broth, you're going to want to add a little bit of salt. And this is just my pink sea salt. You can use whatever salt you prefer. I like things salty, so I'm adding actually about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. So there's the salt. And if you want, again, it's your choice, you can put some onion in. This is dried minced onion. I like to use the dried minced onion just because it is so flavorful, and it only takes just a little bit, and this doesn't go bad in the cabinet. I can keep it in my spice drawer for a long time, and I don't have to chop the fresh onions. It's really fast. And this again is optional, not really part of the recipe, but this is some dried parsley. You could use fresh parsley. When I have fresh green onions, I like to put some fresh green onions, but that's just some parsley and onion that you don't even have to do. All you really need is the bone broth and just being a little extra, as Grace would say this morning. So this is simmering. Let me give this a stir. You can see it's kind of hot. Ideally, I would have put that stuff in there before, but once it's nice and hot, I'll pour this in just a bit at a time, and I'll stir it with a fork as I'm pouring it in slowly. Don't pour it in all at once. And then when it's finished, we're going to top it with a little bit of toasted sesame oil. This happens to be from Trader Joe's. You can get it from anywhere. We really love this stuff. And this is really what makes this dish kind of magical. So you've got some protein in your broth. You've got probably a little fat in there. You could add some butter to this for a little more fat, but the oil is going to top up your fat. And then a little protein from your egg. So it's a very small meal, but it's a meal. Okay, here we go. We're going to just drop it in. You can see that little drop just cooked probably. I'm going to pour it in a little at a time and stir as I go. And it's egg drop soup. And you're going to naturally lower the temperature of your broth. So that's why I'm doing just a little bit at a time. Hopefully you can see that. You can see the egg cooking. And when it comes back to a boil, I'll pour a little bit more in. Now you can make this in the microwave. Grace and I were practicing with that. The key to make it in the microwave is get your broth super, super hot. We had to put ours on for 2 to 3 minutes to really get it boiling. And you pour a little at a time, heat it, and then pour a little bit more. So we'd pour a little bit, the egg cooked right away. We put it back in the microwave for 15, 20 seconds, kept the broth really hot, and then poured a little bit more in. So this is something you could make on the go. There's all of it, and really it's done. You can bring it back to a simmer if you want. I don't like to cook the eggs too long because they get kind of tough. It's all about that texture thing for me, but really that's about it. And so I've got a glass mug here that I can put this in so you can see, and this should be, thanks David, this should be about this is 1 serving, so this should kind of be about perfect for this, but we'll see. And if your eggs cook too long, they start to stick together. You don't want that to happen. But so let me see if I can just pour it in. I'll probably make a mess. You can see my pan's really hot. There you go, that's perfect. And this mug came from the Dollar Tree. Let me get that last little bit of egg because we want all that protein. And so you're not quite there yet. You want to take your oil, your sesame oil, and just drizzle it over top. How much? I like a lot. Grace likes a lot. We tend to put it in, and then as we're eating, we add a little bit more. But I'm going to do a drizzle, and that's maybe what? A teaspoon or two. I don't think it's quite a tablespoon. And you can taste it to see if it's salty. You can see in that bite I've got some oil, some egg, some broth, and it's going to be hot. It is hot, but I think it's perfect. We love this stuff, and it's great and easy for the winter. It's great for on the go. It's great when your tummy's a little upset. It's egg drop soup. I hope that if you make this for your family that they will enjoy it too.